The snow was falling when I got to my son's house for Christmas. My daughter-in-law opened the door just a crack. "We're full," she told me. Then she handed me a paper bowl with cold leftovers. "You can eat on the step like the cat does." Smiled big. "Cats are honest creatures," I said. "They don't pretend to be something they're not." Then I showed her my phone. Pictures of her at the movies with another man. Kissing him. If you're new here, please like this video and tell me what country you're from. This is the story of how one grandmother learned to stand up tall. My name is Margaret Rose. I'm 65 years old. I raised 3 kids by myself. I thought I knew everything about mean people. But standing there in the cold, holding my special cookies I baked all morning, I learned something new. Some people can be colder than winter itself. The house looked like a picture from a storybook. My daughter-in-law Susan had made my son paint it yellow last spring. My son Robert works hard at his computer job. He makes good money now. The house had lights everywhere. Red, green, and white. A big wreath hung on the door. It looked perfect from outside. But inside lived someone with ice in her heart. Margaret. Susan stood there wearing a fancy green dress. Her hair was curled and sprayed. She looked at me like I was a stranger trying to sell something. "Why are you standing here?" I blinked twice. "It's Christmas dinner, honey. Robert invited me Tuesday when he called." "Plans changed," she said. She didn't move from the doorway. I could see behind her. The table was set for 10 people. Fancy plates, shiny forks and spoons, candles burning. But no spot for me. Not one empty chair. "Susan, I made snickerdoodle cookies," I said. I held up my container. "Robert's favorite since he was little. The ones with extra cinnamon you said were delicious last year." Her smile looked fake. Like plastic. "That's sweet. But we already have too much dessert. And honestly, there's just no space for another person." No space. The house has 5 bedrooms. The dining room can fit 15 people easy. I felt something heavy in my chest. But I kept my voice calm. My mama taught me to stay polite even when people are rude. Maybe I could sit in the kitchen. Just to be near family. "I don't think that works for us." Susan used that voice people use when talking to little babies. "This dinner is really for Robert's work friends. You wouldn't understand the conversations they have about computers and business things." From inside I heard Robert laugh. "Hey boy. The one who used to hold my hand crossing the street. The one who cried on my shoulder when his goldfish died. That boy was right there, probably telling jokes, while his mother stood outside like a beggar. Can I just say hello to Robert real quick? He's busy talking to his boss right now. Very important work stuff." Susan looked back into the house. Then she looked at me again. "Listen, Margaret. I feel a tiny bit bad. How about I make you a small plate to take with you?" She went inside. The door almost closed. I stood there counting. 1, 2, 3. All the way to 60. She came back with a paper bowl. The kind people use for picnics. I could see through the plastic wrap. Some dry chicken. A scoop of cold mashed potatoes. Piece of bread crust. The food nobody else wanted. "There you go," she said. She put the bowl down on the wooden porch floor, right next to the mat that said, "Welcome home." Then she did something I'll remember forever. She pointed down at the ground next to the bowl. "You can sit right there and eat if you're hungry. Just like our cat Whiskers does." The words felt like a slap. She compared me to the cat that eats outside. For a second I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Then I looked at that paper bowl on the cold porch. I looked at Susan's face. She was enjoying this. She planned it. The guest list. The full table. Paper bowl. Everything was designed to show me I didn't matter. That's when something funny happened. I started laughing. Not angry laughing or crazy laughing. Real laughing. Because cats, I told her, are smart animals. They know who feeds them and who doesn't. They know real love from fake love. And they don't stick around people who hurt them. "Speaking of animals," I said, opening my phone, "at least cats don't sneak around lying to everyone." I showed her the first picture. The one I took last Monday. Susan and a man who wasn't Robert. They were at the movie theater, holding hands. The second picture showed them buying popcorn together, sharing it. The third picture showed them kissing outside her car. Should I show these to Robert now? Yes. Or do you want to tell him yourself why you've been going to movies every Monday for 4 months? Susan's face went white, like someone dumped flour on her. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. She looked like a fish trying to breathe air. For 3 whole years she'd been mean to me. For 3 years she made me feel small. Now she couldn't say one word. Funny thing about old ladies like me, I said nicely. We have lots of free time. Time to notice things. Time to follow people. Time to take pictures. Press the button. Sent all 15 pictures to Robert's phone. From inside the house I heard his phone beep. Then silence. Then a chair moving. Footsteps coming. What happened next changed everything in our family. Robert appeared fast. His face looked pale and sick. He was holding his phone like it might explode. Behind him the dinner party kept going. People talking about money and sports. Mr. Henderson from Robert's office telling a long story about golf. Nobody knew what was happening at the door. Mom. Robert's voice cracked when he said it. What are these pictures? Susan tried to grab his phone. He moved away from her. I watched my son look at every picture. His face changed with each one. Confused. Angry. Then that look he gets when he's thinking hard. That look came from his father. Robert, I can explain everything, Susan said. Her voice went high and squeaky. Explain what? He looked from his phone to his wife to me. I was still standing on the porch holding my cookies. Explain why my mom is outside with a paper bowl. Or explain why you're kissing another man. The talking inside stopped completely. Total quiet except for wind chimes next door. It's not what you think, Susan said fast. Those pictures are wrong. Your mother has been following me around like a spy. She's trying to break us up because she's jealous of our marriage. I had to give her credit. That was smart. When you get caught doing something bad, blame the person who caught you. Sometimes it works. But she made one big mistake. She'd been mean to me in front of people. Now those same people were about to learn the truth about who she really was. Jealous, said Susan. Honey, I'm 65 years old. I'm not jealous of anything except people who can still touch their toes. My knees don't bend like that anymore. Robert stared at the paper bowl on the porch. Then at his wife. You made my mother eat outside. It was just a joke, Susan said quickly. A silly Christmas game. She's being dramatic about it. A joke. Robert's voice got quiet. I know that voice. He used it once when his friend stole his bike. He used it once when his first wife took all their money. You made my mother eat on the porch like an animal as a joke? Mr. Henderson came to the door. He had a wine glass. Everything okay? Dessert is ready. Tom, Robert said, not looking away from Susan. I think dinner is over. That's when Mrs. Anderson's voice came from inside. Is that Robert's mother out there? Why isn't she eating with us? The moment of truth. Everyone was about to see that the perfect hostess had been serving meanness with the turkey. Because, I called out cheerfully, walking inside past Susan. Apparently there wasn't room for me at the table. But don't worry. Susan made sure I had food. I held up the paper bowl so everyone could see it. 3 people gasped. Mrs. Anderson's wine glass froze in the air. Mr. Henderson's happy face turned shocked. The young couple I didn't know looked at each other with big eyes. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Anderson whispered. Susan, you didn't really do that. It was a mix-up, Susan said. But her voice shook. She watched her perfect reputation fall apart right in front of her. Robert held up his phone. And this? Was this a mix-up too? He turned the screen toward everyone. I couldn't see their faces well from where I stood. But the silence said everything. Mr. Henderson put down his wine glass carefully. I think maybe Patricia and I should go home. Us too, said the young woman. This seems like private family business. In 5 minutes the party ended. People grabbed coats and bags fast, like they were running from a fire. They said polite goodbyes. Thank you and see you soon. But nobody looked at Susan. When the last person left, Robert closed the door. He leaned against it. Susan stood in the middle of her perfect living room. All her nice decorations around her. The expensive furniture. The life she'd built so carefully. All of it about to disappear. 12 years, Robert said quietly. 12 years married, and this is what I get. My mother humiliated while you're sneaking around with another man. Robert, please. Susan tried again. Let me explain the pictures. It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? He walked closer to her. His voice got stronger. Explain why you're at movies with some other man. Explain why my mother was eating from a paper bowl on the porch while you entertained my work friends. I could have said more. Could have told them about all the other times I saw Susan with that man. But this wasn't my moment. This was my son finally seeing his wife's true face. The movies were for work, Susan said weakly. Secret client meetings. Robert laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. In movie theaters. Mom has pictures from 8 different days, Susan. 8. Her face went even whiter. She didn't know I'd been watching her for so long. You know the really sad part, Robert said. If you just asked for a divorce, I would have been fair. Given you half of everything. But instead, you chose to hurt my mother while lying to my face. What kind of person does that? Susan looked around like she was trapped. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the corner. All the expensive decorations she'd bought seemed to laugh at her. Robert, I love you, she said desperately. We can fix this. Go to counseling. Whatever you want. Just don't let your mother ruin what we have. That's when I decided to speak. Susan, I said calmly. I didn't ruin anything. You did. When you decided to treat family like trash while playing pretend with another man. She spun around to face me. For a second, I saw real anger in her eyes. This is your fault, she said. You've been trying to break us up since day one. Have I? I tilted my head. Because I remember helping at your wedding. I made food for your birthday parties. I watched your sister's kids when you needed alone time. But I guess helping family is something crazy old ladies do. Robert stared at his wife like he'd never seen her before. Is that what you really think of my mom? The question hung in the air like smoke. I watched Susan try to find an answer that wouldn't make things worse. For 3 years she'd been pushing me away. Now she was realizing she'd pushed too hard. Your mother has been controlling our lives, Susan announced. She stood up straighter. She pretends to be sweet. But she's bossy and always in our business. She can't accept that you're married and happy. I almost respected her boldness. Almost. Controlling how? Robert asked. The constant phone calls. The surprise visits. The way she questions everything I do. Susan was talking faster now. Her voice getting louder. She makes me feel like I'm not good enough. She can't let me be the woman of this house. The woman of the house. I had to say something. Susan, this isn't a kingdom. It's supposed to be a family. See? She pointed at me like she'd won something. Right there. That's exactly what I mean. She can't let me be in charge. Robert rubbed his forehead like his head hurt. In charge of what? Susan, marriage isn't about being in charge. But she always comes first with you. That's not right. That's not true. It is true. When she calls, you answer right away. When she needs help, you drop everything. When she has opinions about our life, you listen. Robert looked at his wife for a long time. Susan, she's my mother. Course I answer her calls. Course I help her when she needs it. That's what family means. What about what I need? Susan asked. What do you need? The question seemed to surprise her. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I need to feel like I'm the most important person in your life, she finally said. You are important, Robert said. But that doesn't mean my mother stops mattering. But she interferes. How? Robert asked. She. Susan's voice got quieter. She couldn't think of real examples. She loves us, Robert said simply. She wants to be part of our lives. She brings us food and remembers our birthdays and asks how we're doing. That's not interfering, Susan. That's family. But I needed space to build our relationship without her always being around. So you decided to kiss another man instead? Question hit hard. That's not. Those things aren't connected, Susan said weakly. Aren't they? Yes. Because it seems like someone who wants a strong marriage doesn't usually go kissing other men. Susan looked at me with hate in her eyes. You don't understand anything about my marriage. I understand that good marriages don't need you to hurt your husband's family, I said. I understand that wives who love their husbands don't spend Monday afternoons at movies with other men. And I understand, Robert added, that people who are really sorry don't blame everyone else for their own choices. Susan's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went pale. What is it? Robert asked. It's from Jennifer, the man's wife. What does it say? Susan's voice was barely a whisper. She says she knows about us. She's getting a divorce. And she's telling everyone at work. Robert closed his eyes. So this is really happening. Robert, please, Susan begged. Help me figure out how to fix this. He looked at her for a long moment, then at me, then around the living room with all the perfect Christmas decorations and expensive furniture. The carefully built life that was falling apart. Susan, he said quietly, I don't think this can be fixed. And that's when she finally started crying. Susan's crying was loud and messy. Not pretty crying. Real crying that shook her whole body. She wasn't crying delicate tears to make people feel sorry for her. These were desperate tears because everything was breaking. Robert, please, she gasped. I'll do anything. I'll quit my job. I'll never talk to him again. I'll say sorry to your mother properly. Just please don't give up on us. I watched my son's face. There was sadness there. But not the destroyed look I expected. Instead, he looked almost relieved. Susan, he said gently, this isn't just about the other man. Yes, it is. Everything else can be fixed. The thing with your mother was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I couldn't help it. Susan, you made me eat on the porch like a cat. What did I misunderstand? She turned to me, black makeup running down her face. I was trying to make a point. What point? That you can't just show up whenever you want and expect to be included in everything. Robert's voice sounded shocked. She was invited, Susan. I invited her. You invite her to everything. Because she's my mother. But it's my house too. It's our house, Robert corrected. Ours. Not just yours. Susan wiped her nose with her hand. Her makeup smeared. The perfect woman from earlier was gone completely. I just wanted one Christmas where it was just us and the people I chose, she said sadly. The people you chose? Yes. You mean the man you've been kissing? Were you planning to have him here? He wasn't supposed to come, she admitted. His wife made him bring her at the last minute. She suspected something was wrong. Robert sat forward. Wait. You invited the man you're cheating with to Christmas dinner. Not like that. He's your coworker. It made sense for work reasons. Susan, you invited the man you're kissing to Christmas dinner with my mother. The full picture was getting clearer. She hadn't just been sneaking around. She'd been rubbing it in everyone's face while hurting the one person who might have forgiven her if she'd been honest. It wasn't supposed to be weird, she said weakly. Wasn't supposed to be weird. Robert stood up, started walking around. Susan, what was your plan? Were you going to leave me for him? Were you hoping I'd find out and divorce you so you wouldn't look bad? Were you just going to keep lying forever? I don't know, she sobbed. I wasn't thinking clearly. For 4 months you weren't thinking clearly. It just kept getting more and more complicated. I leaned forward in my chair. Susan, can I ask you something? She nodded miserably. Do you actually love my son? The question surprised her. Of course I do. Do you love him enough to put his needs before yours sometimes? Yes. Do you love him enough to treat his family with respect even when you don't like them? She hesitated. Yes. Do you love him enough to be faithful? The hesitation was longer. Yes. Then why, I asked gently, have you been doing the opposite of all those things for 4 months? She stared at me with red eyes. I don't know. I think you do know, Robert said quietly. I think you know exactly why. What do you mean? I think you married me because I had a good job and made you feel safe. I think you thought you could change me into the husband you wanted. But you kept the exciting parts of your life separate from our marriage. Susan's tears had stopped. She was listening carefully now. I think, Robert continued, you never actually wanted to be part of a family. You wanted everyone to revolve around you. Make you the center of everything. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my mother's doctor appointments? When's the last time you remembered my dad's death anniversary? When's the last time you did something kind for anyone without being asked? The silence went on and on. It became an answer all by itself. I tried, Susan said finally. Did you? Or did you just do the bare minimum to look good? I hosted holiday dinners. You hosted dinner parties where my mother felt unwelcome. I bought birthday gifts. Generic gift cards you ordered online the night before. I came to family events. While texting your boyfriend and complaining about being there. Each answer hit like a punch. I could see Susan realizing that her version of being a good wife had been all for show. Robert, she whispered, what do you want me to do? He sat back down and looked at her with something like pity. I want you to be honest with yourself and with me. About what? About whether you actually want to be married to me. Or whether you just want to be married to the idea of me. The question sat there between them. Heavy and important. I held my breath, waiting for her answer. I want to be married to you, she said finally. Why? Because we have a good life together. That's not why you marry someone, Susan. That's why you start a business. We had chemistry. Had. Past tense. And apparently not good enough if you went looking for it somewhere else. We want the same things. Do we? Because I want a marriage built on honesty and respect and shared values. What do you want? Susan opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I want to feel important, she said finally. I want to feel like I matter. And how did treating my mother badly make you feel important? It didn't. How did kissing another man make you feel important? It made me feel wanted, special. And how did lying to me for 4 months make you feel important? It didn't. It made me feel terrible. Robert nodded slowly. So the things you did to feel important actually made you feel worse? Yes. And now you're about to lose your job, your marriage, and most of your friends. Because his wife is going to tell everyone what happened. Yes. So where does that leave us? Susan looked around the room. She was seeing it clearly for the first time. The expensive decorations, the perfect furniture, the carefully built life. All of it disappearing. I don't know, she admitted. Robert stood up, walked to the window. Outside snow was still falling, making everything white and clean. Perfect Christmas scene. But inside everything was ugly and broken. I think, he said slowly, you need to decide what kind of person you want to be. Not what kind of wife. Not what kind of daughter-in-law. What kind of human being. Robert, please don't leave me. He turned back. Susan, I can't save you from what you chose to do. And honestly, I'm not sure I want to anymore. What does that mean? It means the woman I married wouldn't have hurt my mother on Christmas. The woman I married wouldn't have cheated. The woman I married wouldn't have lied to my face for months while I defended her to people who love me. People change. Yes, And you changed into someone I don't know. Susan's phone buzzed again. Another call. Unknown number. Answer it, Robert said. I don't want to. Answer it anyway. Her hands shook as she pressed the button. Put it on speaker. Susan Stevens, she said. Yes, this is Mark Chan from Human Resources at Tech Solutions. I need you to come in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We need to discuss some serious concerns that were brought to our attention. Blood drained from Susan's face. Tomorrow is December 26th. Yes, it is. 9 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. The call ended. Robert looked at his wife with something that might have been compassion. Well, he said quietly, I guess this is really happening. And then the doorbell rang. Robert opened it. There stood the man from my pictures, looking tired and scared. We need to talk, he announced. All of us. The man stood in our doorway like he was walking to his doom. His usually neat appearance was messy, hair uncombed, shirt wrinkled. He smelled like he'd been drinking. Behind him snow kept falling, making everything beautiful. But inside everything was awful. Michael, what are you doing here? Susan asked. Her voice barely worked. Jenny kicked me out, he said simply. She also sent all the evidence to my boss, your boss, and half the company. He looked around the room. Saw the Christmas decorations and our three faces staring at him. Figured we might as well all suffer together. Robert stepped forward. Michael, I think you should leave. Actually, Robert, I should stay. Because what I have to say affects everyone. We don't want to hear it, I said nicely. This family has had enough drama for one Christmas. Michael looked at me. Something like respect in his eyes. Mrs. Rose, right? Margaret. That's correct. You're the one who took the pictures. I am. Smart lady. Good detective work. He turned to Robert. Your mother saved you years of wondering why your marriage felt wrong. Michael, leave, Susan said desperately. Just go. Please. Can't do that, sweetheart. See, Jenny's lawyer called me. Apparently there's more to this than just our affair. The temperature seemed to drop. The room got colder. What do you mean? Robert asked. Michael sat down on the couch without being invited, like a man who'd given up trying to be polite. Susan, you want to tell them? Or should I? Tell us what? Yes. Michael, please don't, Susan begged. Don't what? Robert's voice was sharp. Worried. Michael pulled out his phone, scrolled through it slowly, like someone who'd been drinking. Jenny's been doing research. Financial research. Turns out Susan has been quite busy with money. What kind of research? Yes. Jenny used to work with numbers before she married me. She's good at finding things. Really good. He looked up from his phone. Robert, when's the last time you checked your bank account carefully? What does that have to do with anything? Just check it. Robert looked confused but pulled out his phone. I watched his face as he opened his banking app. Confusion turned into something much more serious. Susan, there are charges here I don't recognize. What's this? What kind of charges? Yes. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry. His voice got tighter with each word. Susan, there's over $9,000 in charges from places I've never been to. Michael nodded grimly. That's just the start. Jenny found evidence of a second credit card. Opened in your name, Robert. But sent to an address Susan's been using secretly. The silence was so loud it hurt my ears. Susan, Robert said slowly. Is this true? She couldn't look at him. It's not what you think. What is it then? I needed money for things without you asking questions. Things like hotel rooms with Michael. And gifts for Michael, she admitted in a whisper. And dinners when we traveled together for fake work conferences. Robert set his phone down very carefully, like it might break. You opened a credit card in my name to pay for your affair. It was only supposed to be temporary. Susan, that's stealing. That's a crime. It's not a crime if we're married. Spouses can share. No, I interrupted. Spouses cannot open credit accounts in each other's names without permission. That's called identity theft. Michael was nodding. Jenny's lawyer confirmed it. Says it's actually a federal crime if the amount is big enough. How big? Robert asked. Michael looked at his phone again. According to Jenny's research, about $42,000 over the past 7 months. The number felt like it had weight. Like it was sitting in the room with us. $42,000. Not just cheating, but stealing money. Lots of money. To pay for the cheating. Robert, Susan said desperately. I can explain everything. Explain what? How you stole $40,000 from me to pay for your affair. It wasn't stealing. I was going to pay it back. With what money? I was going to get promoted. Michael promised. I never promised anything, Michael said sharply. I specifically told you not to count on promotions because of our relationship. Susan spun toward him. You said if I was patient, things would work out. I was talking about us maybe being together someday. Not about your job. Robert stood up suddenly. This is unbelievable. You two were planning a future together. Not planning exactly, Michael said. More like hoping. Hoping for what? For our marriages to end naturally. So we could be together without all this mess. Blink. You were both planning to get divorced. Not planning, Susan said quickly. Just. If it happened naturally. If it happened naturally. Robert's voice got louder. Susan, marriages don't end naturally. They end because people make choices. We thought maybe you'd realize we weren't right for each other. So you decided to help that happen by treating my mother badly and spending my money on your affair? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Michael stood up, swaying a little. It was like two people who were too scared to end their marriages honestly. So they destroyed them instead. His brutal honesty shocked everyone into silence. That's what we did, he continued. We created situations that would force our spouses to leave us. So we wouldn't have to be the bad guys. Speak for yourself, Susan snapped. I am speaking for myself. And for you. Because that's exactly what you did when you hurt Robert's mother today. You were hoping he'd be so disgusted that he'd ask for a divorce. Robert looked at his wife with new understanding. Is that true? No. Maybe. I don't know. Susan was crying again. I just wanted everything to be different. Different how? I wanted to feel like I mattered. Like I was chosen. Like I was the most important person in someone's life. You were the most important person in my life, Robert said quietly. But not the only person. Of course not. That's not how life works, Susan. People have families and friends. Adults don't expect to be the center of everything. I did, she whispered. I wanted to be your whole world. I looked at this woman who'd made my life hard for 3 years. For the first time I felt sorry for her. Not forgiveness, but pity for someone who destroyed her own life chasing something impossible. Susan, I said gently, being someone's whole world is too much pressure. That's not love. That's ownership. She looked at me with surprise, like she forgot I was there. Real love, I continued, wants the other person to have a full life, with many relationships. Real love doesn't make you hurt other people to feel special. But I wanted to feel important. You were important. You were Robert's wife. You were part of this family. You threw it away because it wasn't enough. Michael was nodding. She's right. I threw away 20 years of marriage because I wanted to feel young again. Wanted to feel exciting. And now? Robert asked. Now Jenny's divorcing me. I'll probably lose my job. And I'm sleeping in my car in a Target parking lot on Christmas night because I have nowhere to go. He looked at Susan. Was it worth it? She didn't answer. Robert walked to the Christmas tree. Stared at the lights for a long time. When he turned back, his face looked decided. Susan, I think you should pack some clothes and stay somewhere else tonight. Robert, please. I need time to think. And you need to figure out how you're going to handle the stolen money and the work investigation. Where am I supposed to go? That's something you'll need to figure out. Michael stood up. You can't stay with me. Jenny changed all the locks. For the first time, Susan seemed to understand. No husband. No boyfriend. Probably no job by tomorrow. Everything gone. What about Christmas? She asked sadly. What about it? Robert replied. We're supposed to open presents in the morning. We're supposed to have breakfast together. We're supposed to be a family, Robert finished. But families don't treat each other like you've treated us. Susan looked around one more time, taking in the decorations she'd spent weeks making perfect. The life she'd built and then destroyed. I'll get my things, she said finally. She went upstairs. Michael moved toward the door. Robert, he said, stopping with his hand on the knob. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Your mother was right. You deserved better than what we gave you. After they both left, the house felt strangely quiet. Robert and I sat in the living room, surrounded by leftover Christmas dinner and the pieces of a broken marriage. Are you okay? He asked. I think so. Are you? I thought about it seriously. 8 hours ago, I'd been humiliated on this porch. Treated like I was nothing by a woman who'd made my son's life smaller for 3 years. Now that woman was gone. And my son was free. I'm better than okay, I said. I'm proud of you. For what? For choosing truth over comfort. For standing up for what's right, even when it was hard. Robert managed a small smile. I learned that from you. Today when you could have walked away from this porch and never talked to us again. But you didn't. You fought back. You collected evidence and made sure I saw the truth. Thought about that. I didn't fight back for revenge, you know. Why then? Because you're my son. And you deserve to know who you were really married to. And because nobody should have to eat on a porch like a cat. We sat quietly for a while, watching the snow fall outside the window, making everything clean and white again. Mom, Robert said after a bit. Yes, honey. Next Christmas, would you like to host dinner at your apartment? Smiled. I'd love that. But only if you promise to help wash the dishes. Deal. And Robert. Yeah, Mom. Next time you want to bring someone to Christmas dinner, make sure it's someone who understands that love grows bigger when you share it. It doesn't get smaller. I will. As I drove home through the falling snow that night, I realized something important had happened. I hadn't just gotten my son back. I'd remembered who I was. Not just a mother. Not just a grandmother. But a woman with dignity and strength. A woman who deserves to be treated with respect. Sometimes the best Christmas presents come in strange packages. And sometimes when someone tries to make you eat like a cat, the best thing to do is remind them that even cats know the difference between kindness and cruelty. If you're watching this, I hope you remember that you deserve to be treated with love and respect. No matter what anyone tells you. And if someone tries to tell you otherwise, well, sometimes you just need to show them you won't accept it. The next morning I woke up to my phone ringing. It was Robert. Mom, you won't believe what happened. What is it, honey? Susan never came back last night. She didn't pack. She just left with Michael. My heart sank a little. Where did they go? I don't know. But that's not the important part. This morning I got a call from the police. I sat up straight in bed. The police. Why? Apparently, Michael's wife Jenny filed a report about the credit card fraud. The police want to talk to Susan about identity theft charges. This was getting more serious than I'd imagined. What does that mean? It means Susan could be in real legal trouble. The police said if the amount is over a certain number, it's a felony. That means possible jail time. I felt a strange mixture of emotions. Relief that my son was free. Sadness that it had come to this. And a tiny bit of guilt, even though I knew I'd done the right thing. Robert, how are you feeling about all this? There was a long pause. Honestly, Mom. Feel relieved. Like a weight has been lifted. I've been unhappy for so long, but I kept telling myself it was normal. That marriage is supposed to be hard work. Marriage does take work, I said gently. But it shouldn't make you feel small. It shouldn't make you choose between your spouse and the people who love you. Susan always made me feel like I had to choose. Like loving you meant I was betraying her somehow. That's not how healthy love works, honey. I know that now. Robert sighed. The weird thing is, I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just tired and ready to move forward. I smiled, even though he couldn't see me. That's a good sign. It means you're healing already. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. How long did you know? Really know, not just suspect. I thought back to the first time I'd noticed something wrong. About 5 months ago. I saw Susan's car at the mall when she told you she was working late. Followed her. Saw her meet Michael. They weren't doing anything inappropriate that day. Just having coffee. But the way they looked at each other. I knew. Why didn't you tell me then? Because you wouldn't have believed me. You would have thought I was being a jealous mother-in-law. Trying to cause problems. Robert was quiet. You're right. I would have defended her. Told you that you were seeing things that weren't there. I know. That's why I waited. And watched. And documented everything. I knew that when the time came, I'd need proof you couldn't deny. You were protecting me. I was giving you the truth. What you did with it was up to you. Another pause. Thank you, Mom. I know this whole thing must have been hard for you too. Being treated badly by Susan all these years. Having to watch her hurt me. Having to collect evidence knowing it would break up my marriage. Honey, your marriage was already broken. I just helped you see it. My doorbell rang. Robert, someone's at my door. Can I call you back? Sure, Mom. I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. I hung up and went to the door, wondering who would visit so early the day after Christmas. Opened the door. Standing there was Jenny, Michael's wife. I recognized her from the Christmas dinner. She was a tall woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But today those eyes were red from crying. Mrs. Rose. Margaret. Yes, you're Jenny, right? Michael's wife. Ex-wife soon. Can I come in? I promise I'm not here to cause trouble. I need to talk to someone who understands. I stepped aside. Of course. Come in. Would you like some coffee? That would be wonderful. I led her to my small kitchen. Put on a pot of coffee. We sat at my little table. The same table where I'd sat so many nights, looking at pictures of Susan and Michael. Wondering if I was doing the right thing by documenting their affair. I wanted to thank you, Jenny said suddenly. Thank me. For what? For taking those pictures. For giving your son the truth. For having the courage to expose what was happening. She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. I've suspected for months. But I didn't have proof. I didn't have the courage to look for it. I almost didn't look either, I admitted. Part of me wanted to pretend everything was fine. Ignorance is easier sometimes. But you didn't choose easy. You chose truth. Jenny took a sip of coffee. When I saw those pictures yesterday, I felt sick. But I also felt validated. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. It was really happening. I'm sorry you had to find out on Christmas. Actually, I'm glad. 20 years of marriage. And he spent Christmas trying to have dinner with his mistress while I sat there smiling. The humiliation of that moment gave me clarity. Made me realize I deserve better. He nodded. That's exactly how I felt yesterday. Standing on that porch with a paper bowl. Being treated like I didn't matter. It gave me clarity too. What did it clarify for you? That some people will never value you no matter how much you give them. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character. Jenny smiled sadly. You're a wise woman, Margaret. I'm an old woman who's made plenty of mistakes. But I've learned a few things along the way. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Can I ask you something? Jenny said. Of course. How did you stay strong through all of this? Watching Susan treat you badly for years. Knowing about the affair for months. Not telling Robert immediately. That must have taken incredible strength. I thought about her question. It wasn't strength. It was love. I love my son more than I hate being uncomfortable. More than I hate being patient. More than I hate watching him suffer. But you suffered too. Yes. But I'm older. I've been through hard things before. I knew I could survive this. I wasn't sure Robert could survive not knowing the truth. Jenny wiped her eyes. I found out about the credit cards, the fraud. That's what pushed me over the edge. The affair was bad enough. But stealing from your spouse. That's a level of betrayal I can't forgive. How much did you find? $42,000 from Robert. Another $38,000 from our accounts. Michael had been funneling money to Susan for months, telling me it was for work expenses. I felt my mouth drop open. $80,000 total. Give or take. They were planning something big. Found emails. They were looking at apartments together. Making plans to move away after they thought our divorces would go through smoothly. They were going to run away together. Apparently. They had this fantasy that we'd all just accept it. That we'd divide everything fairly and let them ride off into the sunset. Like we were supporting characters in their love story instead of real people with real feelings. The audacity of it took my breath away. That's beyond selfish. That's what I said to the lawyer. That's why I'm pressing charges. Not just for the money, but because they need to understand that actions have consequences. You can't just destroy people's lives and walk away clean. I respected her strength. What will happen now? The prosecutor says Susan will likely face felony charges. Michael too for his part in it. They could both go to jail if convicted. And their jobs? Already gone. HR fired them both this morning. Apparently, having an affair between a manager and employee violates multiple company policies. Add in the fraud, and they were walked out by security. Where are they now? Jenny's smile was cold. Last I heard, they're staying in a cheap motel on Route 9. The Galaxy Inn. The one with the flickering sign. I knew it. It was the kind of place people stayed when they had nowhere else to go. How did they go from planning a new life together to a motel on Route 9 in 24 hours? Turns out their affair was exciting when it was secret. When it became their reality. Not so much. I heard through a friend that they've been fighting. Blaming each other for everything falling apart. What did they think would happen? They thought they were special. That the rules didn't apply to them. That love conquers all. Jenny shook her head. But love built on lies and betrayal isn't love. It's just selfishness wearing a disguise. We talked for another hour. Sharing stories about our marriages. About the warning signs we'd ignored. About the moment we each decided to stop being victims. When Jenny finally left, I felt a strange sense of peace. Not happiness exactly, but resolution. The truth was out. Justice was being served. And two people who'd been wronged were standing tall instead of cowering. That afternoon Robert came over. He brought pizza and breadsticks. We ate on my couch watching old Christmas movies. Not talking much. Just being together. Jenny came by this morning, I said during a commercial. Did she? What did she want? To thank me. Talk. I think she needed someone who understood what she was going through. Robert nodded. I got a call from the prosecutor's office. They want me to press charges too. For the credit card fraud. Are you going to? I think so. Not because I'm angry, but because Susan needs to face consequences. If I just let it go, she'll never learn. She'll just find another person to use. That's very mature of you. I learned it from you. You could have exposed Susan months ago. Could have caused a scene and made everyone choose sides. But you waited. You let the truth reveal itself naturally. That took maturity I'm still learning. I patted his hand. You're a good man, Robert. You deserved a partner who saw that. Who valued it. Do you think I'll find someone else? Someone better? I know you will. And next time you'll know the warning signs. You'll know what real love looks like versus what performs love while hiding cruelty. We finished our pizza. Watched the rest of the movie. As the sun set, painting my small apartment in orange and pink light, I thought about how much had changed in 24 hours. This time yesterday, I'd been standing on a porch with a paper bowl, being humiliated, being dismissed, being treated like I didn't matter. Now I was here, in my own space, with my son beside me, free from pretending, free from walking on eggshells, free from someone who'd never wanted me around anyway. "Mom," Robert said suddenly. "Yeah. I'm sorry." "For what?" "For not seeing what Susan was doing to you. For defending her when she was cruel. For making you feel like you weren't welcome in my life." Tears filled my eyes. "Honey, you were trying to make your marriage work. That's not something to apologize for." But I should have seen it. The little comments. The way she always had excuses for why you couldn't visit. The way she rolled her eyes when you called. Love makes us blind sometimes. Especially when we want so badly to believe in someone. I wanted to believe she'd change. That if I was patient enough, kind enough, understanding enough, she'd eventually accept you. Accept us as a package deal. But you can't love someone into being a good person, Robert. They have to choose that for themselves. He nodded, wiped his own eyes. The divorce will be messy, won't it? Probably. But you'll get through it. And I'll be here for every step. Even the boring lawyer meetings. Especially the boring lawyer meetings. I'll bring snacks. He laughed. Real laugh. The first genuine one I'd heard from him in years. "What?" he asked. "Just thinking about you sitting in some fancy lawyer's office with a bag of cheese crackers and juice boxes. Hey, lawyers need snacks too. Nobody makes good decisions on an empty stomach." The next few days passed in a blur. Robert filed for divorce. Filed charges for the credit card fraud. Started the process of separating his life from Susan's. Helped where I could. Packing up her belongings from their house. Organizing financial documents. Making casseroles because Robert kept forgetting to eat. On New Year's Eve, we had a quiet celebration at his house. Just the two of us. Sparkling cider and store-bought cookies. At midnight we stood on his back porch, watching fireworks in the distance. "New year, new start," Robert said. "New year, new wisdom," I added. "Think we'll look back on this Christmas and laugh someday?" "Maybe. Probably not laugh exactly. But we'll look back and see it as the turning point. The moment everything changed for the better." "I hope you're right, Mom. I'm always right. Haven't you learned that yet?" He hugged me tight. "Thank you for not giving up on me. For fighting for our relationship even when it was hard. That's what mothers do. We fight for our children. Even when they're grown. Even when they don't know they need fighting for." In January, the court proceedings began. Susan tried to reconcile at first. Sent long text messages to Robert. Apologizing. Promising to change. Begging for another chance. But Robert stayed strong. Blocked her number. Communicated only through lawyers. Michael apparently left town. Went to stay with family in another state. Jenny heard he'd found a job at a smaller company. Making less money. Living in a tiny apartment. Paying back what he'd stolen little by little. Susan lost her case. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecutor showed the credit card statements. The emails planning their future. The text messages between Susan and Michael discussing how to hide their spending. She was sentenced to 2 years probation, community service, and full restitution of the money she'd stolen. She also had to pay legal fees, court costs, and she had a felony record that would follow her for life. The judge's words stuck with me. Trust is the foundation of marriage. When you violate that trust, you don't just hurt your spouse. You hurt yourself. You become someone who can't be trusted. And that's a heavy burden to carry. By spring, Robert's divorce was final. The house was sold. He moved into a smaller place. Condo near downtown. Modern and clean. Fresh start. I helped him decorate. We picked out furniture together. Hung pictures. Made it feel like home. You know what I don't miss? He said one day while we were organizing his kitchen. What? The constant tension. Walking on eggshells. Wondering if something I said would start an argument. That's not how life should be. I know that now. But for so long I thought that was just marriage. That everyone felt that way. Some marriages do have that tension. But those aren't healthy marriages. Those are relationships that need fixing or ending. I spent 3 years trying to fix something that Susan didn't want fixed. She wanted drama. Wanted to feel like the victim. Wanted an excuse to do what she wanted without consequences. Some people are like that. They create chaos and then act surprised when there are consequences. Robert put away the last plate. Stepped back to admire our work. This looks good, Mom. It looks like a new beginning. That summer Robert started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee dates, dinners, getting to know people. Learning who he was outside of his marriage to Susan. He brought one woman to meet me in July. Her name was Patricia. She was a teacher. Warm and funny. With laugh lines around her eyes and a genuine smile. It's so nice to meet you, she said, shaking my hand. Robert talks about you all the time. Does he? I hope he says good things. Only the best. He told me about last Christmas. About how you stood up for yourself and for him. That took real courage. I liked her immediately. Anyone who understood what happened and didn't judge us was okay in my book. Over dinner, I watched how Patricia treated Robert. She listened when he talked. Asked questions. Laughed at his jokes. And when he mentioned me, she didn't get that tight look around her eyes. That look Susan always had when I was mentioned. Your mom should come to the lake house with us next month, Patricia said. We rented it for 2 weeks. Plenty of room. Robert looked at me hopefully. Would you want to, Mom? I'd love to. If you're sure I wouldn't be intruding. Intruding? Patricia laughed. Margaret, you're Robert's mother. Your family. That's not intruding. That's what family does. They spend time together. And that's when I knew. This was different. This was what real love looked like. Not possessive or jealous. But generous and inclusive. Now, as I'm recording this story, it's been almost a year since that Christmas. Robert and Patricia are engaged. Planning a small wedding next spring. Susan is working at a call center. Living in a studio apartment. Slowly rebuilding her life. I heard through a friend that she's in therapy. Learning about herself. About why she made the choices she made. I hope she finds peace. Really do. Not for her sake, but for her own. Because carrying around that much selfishness and anger is exhausting. Michael and Jenny are both remarried. To other people, they seem happy. Life goes on. And me? I'm good. Better than good. Have my son back. Have new friends. I have self-respect. I have the knowledge that I stood up for myself when it mattered most. So if you're watching this and you're in a situation where someone is treating you badly, remember this. You deserve respect. You deserve kindness. You deserve to be included, not excluded. And if someone tries to make you feel small, stand tall. Document the truth if you need to. Speak up when you must. But never ever accept being treated like you don't matter. 'Cause you do matter. Every single one of you matters. Thanks for listening to this old lady's story. Don't forget to subscribe to Granny's Voice. And remember, dogs are loyal, cats are honest, but humans. We have to choose kindness every single day. Happy holidays, everyone. And may your Christmas dinners always have room for one more.